This painting captures the most advanced particle physics and the most ancient Hindu philosophy. Before getting into the details of the painting, let me talk a little bit about the quantum field theory, which deals with the subatomic particles and how it is related to this painting. According to the quantum field theory, particles are not the fundamental entities of the universe. Rather, the universe is composed of a set of energy fields, and the particles are just the ripples within those energy fields, which is a very interesting proposition because you can find a similar proposition within the Vedantic traditions, especially the Advaita Vedantic interpretation of the Upanishadic statements that says Jagat Mithya Brahma Satyam, which means that the physical universe, that including you and me, it's not real, rather Brahma Satyam, the consciousness, the universal consciousness, that's the true reality. And the second Vedantic proclamation is Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, which means that the Brahma, the universal consciousness, that permeates the entire universe, which aligns with what quantum field theory is saying, that the universe is full of fields and the particles are just a manifestation of the ripples within those fields, and they are very transient, as in they come in and go away. But no one explained how those particles acquired mass, formed into atoms, and then the atoms in turn formed into the physical matter which constitutes the entire universe, until 1964. In 1964, Peter Higgs came up with a proposal that one of the fields within the quantum field spectrum, which later came to be known as a Higgs field, is actually providing the mass to the particles of the other fields within the quantum field spectrum. For example, electrons within the electron field interacts with the Higgs field and acquire mass. So when the electron acquires mass, it stays together with other particles like protons and neutrons and forms into atoms. Atoms in turn forms into physical matter, which is a primary building block of this universe. So the reason why you and me exist, including the physical universe, is because of this Higgs field. How do we prove it? How do we prove that this Higgs field is actually exist? That's where CERN comes into picture. CERN is one of the world's most premier scientific research organization. It is located in Geneva, Switzerland, close to the Swiss and French border. And CERN houses one of the world's largest particle collider. It's a 27-kilometer ring. It's buried under the ground beneath CERN. So the largest particle collider is called LHC, Large Hadron Collider, where they introduce subatomic particles and they make them to accelerate at close to the speed of the light and make them hit each other. So when they collide, those particles colliding at a very high kinetic energy, they split into even minute tiny subatomic particles, and thereby they detect what those particles are, and based on those particles they predict from which field, the quantum field, those particles are coming from. So going back to the physical universe origin theory, the reason you and me along with the physical universe exist is because of the Higgs field. So the goal for the CERN is to actually prove that the Higgs field actually exists by catching the particles that are expected to come out of this Higgs field, and those particles are called bosons, Higgs boson. The particle boson was named after Indian mathematician and theoretical physicist Satyendranath Bose, who worked with Albert Einstein and published Bose-Einstein statistical theory, which explains the behavior of these particles. So the goal for CERN is to detect these particles bosons. And how they do it? So they accelerated a bunch of the particles to the speed of the light, and those particles, when they collide, they break down into tiny subparticles, and if one of those tiny subparticles happens to be this Higgs boson, that proves that the Higgs field exists. So that's the goal for CERN. CERN started experimentations to identify the Higgs field and Higgs boson, but they were not successful for quite some time. But meantime, in 1993, another British theoretical physicist, is also a Nobel Prize winner, Leon Lederman, who wrote the book, The God Particle, If the Universe is the Answer, What is the Question? He actually called this Higgs boson as a God particle. He initially wanted to call it as a goddamn particle because it is very elusive, it's very hard to catch it, but somehow he landed on this title, God particle. And then later in 2012, CERN actually discovered this God particle. And in 2013, Peter Higgs, he got the Nobel Prize for this discovery because he was the one who proposed in 1964 that there is such a thing called Higgs field, and which is responsible for providing a mass to all the particles, and which in turn is responsible for the creation of a physical matter and the physical universe. So coming back to the painting, what you see in the painting is the CERN and its surroundings, and down below, beneath the CERN, is actually the Large Hadron Collider, accelerating the particles, and when they collide, it's actually capturing the event when the Higgs boson actually originated. So that's the painting. But the question is, why do you see the picture of Shiva, inside this Higgs boson, which is also called the God particle? So that's where there is a connection to the Shiva statue or the Nataraja statue that you can see on somewhere in the midsection in the painting on the left hand side. So that Nataraja statue was actually presented by or gifted by India to the CERN as a diplomatic gift, and CERN did accept that for two reasons. One is obviously it is a diplomatic gift, and second one, the Nataraja is a symbol of a cosmic dance. Just keeping aside the shape and the form of the Shiva as a person, keeping aside that the human aspect of the Shiva or the picture, the Nataraja represents the cosmic dance, and what CERN is trying to do or trying to accomplish is to even identify the patterns of the subatomic particles within the universe, is kind of identifying their dance. So the cosmic dance that they are trying to discover or unlock is closely metaphorically resembles with the cosmic dance of the Shiva. So hence they did accept the statue. And the third reason why the picture of Shiva is closely tied to the Higgs boson, the God particle, is also because of the Vedantic proclamations that I mentioned earlier. Jagat Mithya, Brahma Satyam, which says that the physical universe is an illusion, even though it is real that we can see it, but actually it is transient. It comes and goes away. What is real is the underlying universal consciousness, which kind of quantum field theory is kind of saying at a subatomic particle level, that all the particles are transient, they just come and go away. What is the ground truth is the energy fields, or a set of energy fields. And this close connection is also kind of recognized and appreciated by the very renowned, the foundational figures within the modern science, starting with, Erwin Schrödinger. Erwin Schrödinger is a Nobel laureate. He openly said that he was deeply influenced by Advaita Vedanta and the Upanishads, He equated his perspective of ultimate reality to the Vedantic proclamations. And then later, Niels Bohr, I mean, he is considered as the architect of the quantum theory, right? He got a Nobel Prize for understanding or explaining the structure of the atoms, and then how do they emit the energy and things like that. So he, famously quoted, "I go into Upanishads to ask the questions." So he supposedly made that statement where, the subatomic structures and their dance closely resembles to the cosmic dance, as explained, as illustrated by the Nataraja, as well as the Vedantic proclamations that Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, all that there is a Brahma, the consciousness, and the physical matter is just a manifestation that comes and goes away. It may not be in seconds, but it could be, I don't know, millions and billions of years, cycles. So, and then the third one is the scientist is the Heisenberg. Heisenberg, even who formulated this uncertainty principle, which he said, his uncertainty principles are consistent with the Vedantic proclamations that I mentioned, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, all there is one, and everything else is just a temporary thing. So when these Nobel laureates and the stalwarts of the particle physics, when they are seeing some parallels between the work that they did and the Vedantic proclamations, maybe we can spend some time to understand what these principles are from the scientific perspective, as well as these Vedantic proclamations. How are they related? I think that would be a great investigation. So the purpose of this painting is not to propagate any ideology, rather to drive some interest towards the quantum world, particle physics, and the origin of the universe from the science perspective, and the origin of the universe from the Vedantic perspective. Vedanta should not be looked at as a religion. It is a philosophy. It has got a foundational principles. If you dig deeper, maybe you can draw some conclusions, or maybe not. But at least I think there got to be some kind of an investigation. If you do, I think it's worth your time. Okay, I hope you liked the explanation. I hope you liked the painting. Thanks.